Hello and welcome to another knitting pod. I am Lena and I'm coming to you from Boulder, Colorado. And I'm happy to report it is a gorgeous, cloudy, stormy, overcast day here. And I could not be happier. It is August 20 something. And it's been a long, warm summer and I am so more than ready for some cooler weather, even, dare I say, cold weather. I'm just wishing it all right now. So I'm very happy where I am. I hope you are even semi-cozy wherever you are. I know those of us who are in summer are sweltering, unfortunately. But anyway, let's just dream of cozy and chit-chat about yarn instead. If you are new here, I'm so glad you're here. I hope you will stick around to chat about knitting and yarn and the joy of making in general. Real quick, I am wearing the Bubble Cardigan by Stephen West. I've worn it before. I've talked about it before. It's finally a little cozy, so I just picked my absolute favorite cardigan to put on. This is made out of just various yarn that I had in my stash, and most of it is superwash, so it just is that incredibly cozy cardigan that is just why we knit. Do you know what I mean? And all the colors bring me so much joy. So when I was thinking about what to wear, it was either this or a sweatshirt that was most certainly not hand knit. So I picked this, and yeah, if you have questions about it, ask me. I've told you before, but I made mine a short sleeve version. If you go back, if you haven't heard me talk about it, you can go back and find it in the archives, y'all. All right, so what is on my needles right now? Last week I told you I was venturing into knitting a cabled sweater, and I had picked the Claret sweater by Thea Coleman. And at that point I had just done some swatching because I have done some very mild cabling, if you will, in some shawls and stuff, but I had never undertaken like a real cabling project. So I was just really committed to swatching and getting more comfortable with just the technique. And I'm so glad I did. It just makes it so much lower pressure. Do you know what I mean? Like if you are actually trying to master a technique, not even master, but just get some fluency in a technique, and you have the pressure of a piece that's, you know, you're trying to make it up to your expectation, that's just a lot of pressure. So I think it's really helpful to just take a step back and do some really low pressure swatching and experimentation, especially with cables. You know, you can use a cable needle or you cannot. I was definitely trying to not. I have found, you know, using a cable needle slows me down. And when there's a lot of 1x1 cabling, especially, it's just a lot of constant putting stuff on a cable needle and taking it off. And somebody had messaged me that that's how they'd like to do it and that they have a lot of speed with that. And I think that's amazing. Like, you just have to find what works for you. With knitting, there's a million ways to do everything, and you have to find whatever works for you. And maybe it's a hybrid, and maybe it changes as you work through it. When I started that color work sweater, I had done the Soldotna by Caitlin Hunter. I started by doing the color work in both hands, one yarn in one and one in the other. And then I kept trying to do it in one, both holding it in my left hand, and finally found some ease in that. And that's how I ended up knitting the whole sweater. And I'm pretty sure that's just the best way for me to knit color work. But all that to say, you have to do it to figure out what works for you. You just can't translate someone else's experience into your own. You have to be able to just try, and you don't know until you try. So why don't I show you what I have so far on my Claret sweater. This sweater is completely work in the flat. So you work, the directions have you work 2 sleeves in the flat, then the front, then the back, and then you piece it all together. I think even the neckline might be worked flat. I don't really know. I haven't gotten there. This is going to be a long-term project. I have no illusions that this is like a churn and burn kind of sweater. That's not my intention with it. just generally, I am trying to slow down in my knitting. I just do not think I need to just be churning out finished objects, because I'm really trying to enjoy the process. So, sorry, my nose is really itchy. I don't know why. Here is what I have so far. Look how much progress I've made. Oh my gosh. This is always a very awkward moment for me when I hold things up and I don't know how to hold my own arms. And anyway, apologies if I look strange in this position, but it's hard to hold it up. I'm kind of loving it in the screen right now. I'm not gonna lie, that is pretty spectacular. I'm obsessed with the lines, and then those three, whatever, these 2x2 cables that are super round and soft looking, and then the kind of more geometric look of these two panels. I'm having a moment. I'm like, wow, I can't believe it. I have to say, every time I stop and look at this, I'm in awe. Like, this is what is so magical about knitting, is just, there's so many things you can do. And when I've never done anything like this before, and it's turning out so beautifully. I'll bring it a little closer. I want to show you the bottom. I'm going to roll it up real quick. Look at that ribbing on the bottom. That's the cuff. And I just think it looks so freaking cool. And then how it just flows into the pattern on the body. I'm in awe. I'm obsessed. It looks so, so, so good. And then I wanted to kind of not pin it, but use stitch markers to like faux seam it, but I couldn't do that. But look, because I wanted to show you what it would look like in my arm. Let's see if I can mess around with this a little, and like if you can see more awkwardness. Now I feel like I'm trying to show you like a cast or something, but anyway, but like you can see what it will look like a little bit when it's actually seamed into a sleeve, and it's pretty beautiful, y'all. Sigh. I'm like having a total moment of love for this sleeve so far. And I have to say, hold on, I'm gonna have a sip of water, okay? When I started swatching and I started the sleeve, I literally thought this project is gonna take me like years, because I had to it was so slow. Because every row, it's like, I would look at the pattern, and I'm using the chart because she has charted and written. I think that's important to say. I never thought I would prefer a chart, but I totally do. Because once you get a little practice with it, it's just all right there, and you don't have to keep reading. I don't know, it just feels faster to me. But I thought it would take me forever to like figure out where I was in the row, and it's so bizarre. Like once you do it, you gain this fluency that you thought would never come. I don't know if that's making any sense, but like, I can't believe now how much faster I'm able to work through these rows. And what's great, this looks like so far from a beginner cable project, right? But I'd venture to say it might be a great beginner project, because so you've got rows 1 through 14 that ends, I even put a stitch marker. See where that orange stitch marker is? That is row 15. And everything from that orange stitch marker up is a 5-row repeat. So you do 1 through 14, and then you repeat 15 through 20 over and over and over. So you get practice, you get fluency, you get practice reading the chart, practice making the cables, and it's really great, because all knitting skills is a variation of knits and purls, and then repetition, right? Like your hands and your mind have to connect and create that, just that pattern in your brain. And so I really do think so far this is not nearly as challenging as I thought it would be. I can't believe I'm saying that, but like, I've even taken this to my daughter's basketball practice and sat there with my chart and actually worked on it. So I think it's 100% doable as a beginner. I just feel like I said last time, like a whole world of knitting is opening up to me. This yarn, sorry, I got distracted. This yarn is very rustic, and there's like lots of vegetable matter that I find in the fibers, and then I end up wanting to pick it out, and it kind of like, I don't know, maybe I should just leave it, but it's too tempting to kind of pick it out. This yarn is Julie Asselin in the Nurtured base. I love this yarn. Love this yarn. For you beautiful, glorious Canadians, these are your people. I think they're in Quebec. Support your glorious dyers, because this yarn is awesome. It is woolen spun and just light and natural feeling, like very sheepy, but it is not itchy at all. And it just feels like what it is. It's a real fiber, close to what its natural form is. It's got dye, but very subtle, and the colors they have are so beautiful. This is the color Dew, D-E-W, but there's a couple of others I'm going to put pictures up that I love. I think it's Fusion. That's just a bit of a deeper version of this. It feels like more taupey. And then Court Point, I think that's what it's called, is another one I really like. That's kind of like more of a mauve based, like taupey mauve. I love their colors. They also have Nurtured Fine, which is a fingering weight yarn that's very similar to this. I'm looking forward to kind of diving more into their yarns. They have a lot. And I have nothing but good to say about it so far. Well priced. I don't remember exactly how much these skeins were, but they were reasonable. They were not bunker balls. So I absolutely am loving this project. You have to knit the sleeve to 18 inches, and I think I'm at like 15, I want to say, something like that the last time I measured it. So I don't think it's long now. Honestly, I'd be tempted to do the body, one of the panels of the body before I do the other sleeve, just to keep it interesting. But I don't know. I also think because I just finished a sleeve, or almost finished a sleeve, I could probably repeat that fairly quickly without, it's easier to like knit one thing and then like knit the exact same again, then take a break and then lose some of that, memory you have of the natural pattern. So anyway, I'm enjoying knitting it in the flat. I've never knit a garment like this. It does feel satisfying because the rows are not long. You're kind of are doing a couple things at once. I had to read the pattern several times and kind of like make my own notes I'm one of those people that I need to write something down in my own words to understand what's happening. So it is one of those things that you have to kind of do a couple of things at once, like you're increasing but it's really not hard. It just took me a couple of read throughs to kind of figure out what's happening. And I do like that, I feel like it's going to fit well. Like I don't like a super tight sleeve, like sausage casing sleeve. No, thank you. But I also don't want like a super bulky, uncomfortably baggy sleeve. So I feel like I've been able to kind of put my arm in here and figure out what I like. So yeah, it's gorgeous. I am loving it. I do have to tell you, there was one point, it was last Sunday, it looked like something was wrong. And rather than like thinking it through, I just dropped a column and was trying to fix my mistake as I would fix it in normal knitting. However, you have to remember, in a cabled project, there's all these things that are twisted, right? These stitches are twisted. So what looks out of place, if you just drop a column, it's not so easy to fix. And I messed something up and I had no earthly idea how to fix it, okay? It was to the point, like, it wasn't even a big mistake. It's just, I didn't know what the mistake was. So it's hard to fix something if you don't even know what the mistake is. like normally my methodology for fixing mistakes is identify mistake, go to YouTube, put said mistake into the search engine and find videos and fix. But you can't put anything into a search engine if you don't know what happened. Like, what would I put? Like, help, I made a mistake in my cables. Like, I didn't know what was happening. So I texted my friend Jessica, who's a very experienced knitter. And she was like, we were going to hang out, go for a hike anyway on the next day. She was like, bring your knitting, I'll fix it. And I was like, I was literally in tears, you guys. My whole family was like, don't talk to her. I heard my son tell my husband, don't talk to her, she messed up a cable. And they were like silent because they were so scared. Because when I get really frustrated, I get really grumpy and mad. But anyway, so she fixed it in like 2 minutes in the car. Y'all, I don't know. I wonder if someday I'll be that fluent in being able to pick someone else's project up, look at the chart, be able to think back and just fix the mistake. I don't know how she did it, but I have a question. If you are a big cabler, do you have any resources that you use to get better at fixing mistakes? Like I told you guys last week, or the last video I did about brioche, you know, there's just so many good brioche playlists. I need to just dive into YouTube and look for some how to fix cable mistakes, because I think I just need to get an understanding of the different types of mistakes there are, if that makes any sense. Because when we don't feel confident in fixing our mistakes, we're just like have this general air of unease, I think, because we're so scared to make a mistake. And I don't like that. I like to just enjoy my knitting. And if there's a mistake, I want to be able to have the confidence to deal with it, which in this situation so far, I do not. So that is kind of what I need to pause and do. Not even pause, just like in some spare time, look up and do some searching, because I think that would be very helpful. So let me know if you have any resources that you used with cabling. Like I told you, I feel like a whole world has opened up to me of pieces that always looked so complicated. I think cabling and color work look so difficult, but they're really just a matter of practice, like most things in life. We think things are difficult, that we just have to start. If you just start, you just find your way. If the will is there, you find your way. And let me tell you, when it comes to knitting, I have a lot of will. Okay, what else? I'm looking down here because I'm looking at my notes. Wappa-da-pa-da-pa-da. I do have to say, the one thing that is a downside for my love of cabling is that, and I don't think it's because I'm new anymore, I think it's just the nature of cabling. You have to manipulate the stitches a lot more than you do in just plain knitting. So especially if you're not using a cable needle and you have larger cables, you are having to change the order of those cables, right? So once, say even just take a 2x2, which is this middle cable, it's a 2x2 rib. When you cross those over, there's just not a lot of give, right? Because the yarn is being stretched across. And when you're using woollier wool, non-superwash wool, it doesn't have as much give. Like a superwash is so much stretchier because it's like woolly qualities have been stripped away, kind of. I have found it's making my hand more sore. And you guys know, if you've been with me for a while, that I'm really hyper aware of that, because the thought of not being able to knit is really, really anxiety inducing. So I do have to say, like, my thumb feels more sore, and also like this joint in my middle finger's feeling a little more tired. I might make an appointment with my physical therapist, who, she's amazing. Calling her a physical therapist, and she has a PhD in physical therapy, and she's just one of the most brilliant people I've ever met, but she's just so much more than that. I think she's like a healer. I'm not even kidding. Like, that sounds a little dramatic, but she is so much more than what she appears to be. And so I probably am due for a tune-up, just generally my whole body from exercise and knitting and mental perspective. I probably need a tune-up, but I'm definitely going to ask her about this joint because I'm feeling a little bit of, you know, I get tennis elbow symptoms when I knit, when there's more tension in my knitting, and I'm kind of getting that in this joint. And I know for a fact that everything here is connects down to here. And so it's probably all connected. And anyway, you don't need to know that, but I am just telling you, if you find that with cabling, your hands are a little more, you know, tight or painful, then that's probably natural. I don't think it's that we're doing anything wrong. I guess I could use a cable needle, and that would prevent a little bit of that tension in accumulating that tension. But I'd rather just put the project down and work on something a little less, you know, attention heavy in every way. Like that's why I said last time, I think that Half and Half Triangles wrap by Pearl Soho that I'm knitting, which I wish I had over here right now. I might have to run over there and grab it to show you in a second. But it's a great other project to have going at the same time as a project like this, because sometimes you just don't have the bandwidth. Even if you're in the groove of the pattern and you're not having to use a ton of mental energy, sometimes you just want to be like literally autopilot. Like the only complicated part is, well, literally nothing, like one short row stitch in each row. It's glorious. Sometimes that's all the knitting I can handle. And I have made so much progress on that bad boy. But anyway, we will get to that in a moment. I will show you this one last time. I'm really happy with it. Oh, one thing I did want to say, I have no shortage of things I have to say, right? Like I literally taped an episode on Monday and it's Friday and I have so many words for y'all. But anyway, I was going to say is when I was looking at videos on YouTube about cabling, I did encounter several videos about how to fix your stitches and like basically how to make your cables look tidier and this and that. And I'm in two minds about that. Like on one side, I get it. Oops. I totally get, sorry, these guys just fell off. I get wanting to fix tension issues. Like if you've watched one time, I don't remember what I was working on. Oh, yes, I do. Oh God, that big rib sweater, was that what it was called? The Jessie Maid design sweater, that it's like a bulkier weight yarn in a bigger gauge and it's 4x4 ribbing. I don't know if you remember that. If you've watched my previous videos, I was really struggling because you could see this funky transition from the knit columns to the purl columns. And it was driving me crazy because the entire garment is ribbed and that's all there is. And it was just so glaringly obvious that there was this weird wonky tension. So I did try really hard to fix it. This, however, if you look really closely, you can see that not every stitch is exactly the same, okay? Number one, so much of that will block out with a solid wet block and not pin out, but just block it really beautifully. It's gonna relax and all that's gonna look so much better. But for some people, that's still not enough. Like maybe it really bothers them that some of the stitches are a little wider than the others. And I'm just not that person, y'all. And it's almost akin to like if you have wrinkles or cellulite or smile lines, right? Or, you know, those lines you get when you get older and you smile a lot and they are smile lines, right? Isn't that what that's called? It's like you only realize something's wrong when someone else tells you it's wrong. Like I didn't even think about it. I didn't even look at this project through those eyes. All I could see when I was looking at it was like beauty and awe. But the minute someone puts something out there saying how to fix this problem, you're like, oh, I better start looking for the problem. Do you know what I'm saying? I don't know if I'm making any sense, but like, I don't want to, any more than I don't want to look at myself as a series of problems to be fixed. I don't want to look at my knitting as through the lens of I need to make it closer to perfect, because I don't. I'm happy with the way this looks, and I am not going to seek out different methods for fixing and making it look more perfect. And I think that we all have different thresholds for that, right? Like one person might really be bothered and need to fix that, and that doesn't make that wrong. I'm just saying we should all be conscious of the fact that if we have the choice between more satisfied and less satisfied, let's lean towards more satisfied. Like, let's not go looking for problems to fix, because problems abound and we will have problems to fix as long as we shall breathe. And let's not add to that list just to entertain ourselves, okay? Like, I reject the notion that wrinkles are a problem to be fixed, or, you know, it's just, let's not listen to that noise that the world is telling us, and let's bring that into our knitting. Because I can definitely see, if I look closely, that there are wonky stitches, but I don't care. I think that's the beauty of it, and most of that's going to relax out, and I am going to enjoy the crap out of this project. I just got a message from Caitlin this morning, and she was like, I could totally see you wearing that, like post-ski, you know, having a lovely dinner on the mountain kind of vibe. And that's exactly how I feel about this. Oh my gosh. I'm putting my arm in it again. I do this constantly when I'm working on it, just because it's so much fun. Let me see if I can give you a cool view. Look at that. Isn't that just so beautiful? Okay, I think I've officially gone on and on. It's been 30 minutes. Time to turn the page. Officially. Okay, goodbye. You'll see it again many, many, many times. Let me grab my half and half for you, okay? Just hold. And back. Thank you for your patience. My half and half triangles wrap. I have made so much progress because I just have found, since I cast it on, many, many, many opportunities for yarn therapy, which is what I consider this. It is getting bigger and more lush and beautiful. And I understand now why there's 10 trillion of these project pages, because it is a comforting knit, y'all. It is a comforting knit. Now, what I will have to say about this, in order for this to maintain its comfort knit status, you have to bring the right attitude to this project every time you work on it. It is not a project to be looking forward to the FO. Do you know what I mean? Like, you can't be like, oh, I can't wait to have this. No. This is, oh, I'm so glad to be working on this. Do you see the difference? There's a difference. And if you get into the I want this done, it's gonna drive you crazy. And normally that's me, but this has been a really lovely lesson in the joy of the process. And I definitely am one of those people that needs to be reminded to slow down and enjoy the process and not just be charging towards the finish line. And that is a life lesson through and through. Like, don't you think if you could master that, like, you might be living as close to a happy life as you could be? Don't you? Like, I don't know, that goes hand in hand with staying present in the moment and not falling backwards towards the past and reaching forward towards the future. I don't know. This is like a very meditative knit in all the ways. So anyway, I have loved it so much. I finished the first ball. I wish I had measured, and I might have, but I forgot how many grams my first half-used ball that I had. But I finished that one. Then I finished an entire second full skein, and now this is the third skein. So I'm happy to say I do not feel like it's dragging by. Like, this is my marker. So this is, let's see. These are the rest of the stitches right to here. These are all the unwrapped stitches. And then you go closing all the short rows, and then you add the next color. So anyway, all that to say, I love, 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 love this project. Love this project so much. I'm really, really enjoying it. I love the fabric it's creating. I love Pearl Soho linen quill. We've gushed and gushed about it. We don't need to gush anymore, but if there has been any hesitation, whether it's using linen quill for a project or casting on this project, you have my full over 100%, like 15 out of 10, 150% endorsement from me. Even this, and like, look at this, okay? Let me show you. This bright blue, I'm gonna come close, I don't bite. This bright blue is linen quill. It is the colorway cobalt blue, blue, I don't know, something. Look how well it has held up. Not a single pilliness. And then right under it, this is a single ply called Line Weight by Pearl Soho. Look at the pilly disaster, okay? This yarn, linen quill, is so just, it's just a really good yarn. To me, if you can, I have worn this cardigan. You have no idea how much I wear this cardigan. In the winter, I wear it like a robe. Like, the minute I wake up, I put it on because I like that it doesn't have long sleeves. So when I'm, you know, making breakfast, I don't have sleeves dipping in and out of the sink, and you know what I mean? And it's oversized and so soft and comfy. It just has that like hug vibe. So I wear it all the time. And this linen quill just, it doesn't pill. It's just, it's amazing. I love it so much. So, I do wonder if on the first color, your short rows are getting shorter and shorter. Like, you're starting by going all the way to the end, and then each consecutive row you go less stitches, one less, but each row gets less, excuse me. But when you add the second color, it's the opposite. You start out small and then you keep adding a stitch. So I think that is probably part of why the end feels long, is because you're getting longer and longer in the rows rather than shorter and shorter. And maybe it's dragging by that time, but so far I don't feel that way. I'm enjoying it. I take it everywhere. I take it everywhere. Like, because you just never know when you might have 5 seconds to knit. And, you know, 5 spare seconds is 5 seconds of knitting gold. So, all right, that's the half and half. What's next? I feel so bad saying this. Like, I can't even get the words out because I feel so bad saying this. I have never knit my husband anything. This is not good, y'all. This is bad wife. And here's the deal. Like, you don't have to knit your husband anything. Obviously, I haven't. But my husband is the best person on the planet. Like, he's just the best person and has supported me so, I cannot tell you how wholeheartedly he supports me and has supported my obsession with knitting, my starting this podcast, my obsession with anything and everything. He's just the best. And like, I hate that I haven't knit him something. So I finally decided to knit him something. And okay, other than the fact that I'm often lately a selfish knitter, is I think, because I've been thinking about why I haven't knit him anything. And I think it's because I'm scared. Like, I know anything I knit myself, I'm going to love and figure out how to love and use, because I just love hand knits. But I'm scared, like, he's pretty particular about clothes in that he's like the plainest dresser ever and has to be super comfortable. So I just feel like there's just a lot of pressure to knit something perfect. Do you know what I mean? So anyway, I really, really wanted to knit him a sweater. So I am going to knit him a sweater. I can do this. I'm gonna take it seriously and make sure I do everything to give it the highest chance of success. Like, I'm not gonna just traipse into it willy-nilly like I do shawls or something like that. Do you know what I mean? So I went about, first I found the pattern that I thought he would like and made sure he approved, and he did. So I picked the Handstolm sweater. I don't know that word, but that's the word, Handstolm. I don't know if I'm saying that right. It's by Petite Knit. It's a very simple sweater, DK weight, top down raglan sweater. He loved it. It's so his style because there's quite literally nothing. Like, the other sweater that I thought he would really like is the Gibb sweater by Andrea Mowry. It has this, oh my God, waffle. Phew. Sometimes I sit here and it's like these really simple words that are in my brain, but the journey from brain to mouth sometimes gets a little too rocky. Waffle sweater that is absolutely beautiful. Similar to Stephen West's new woolly waffle sweater, but a little different. The waffle pattern is, I wonder if it's the same pattern as the big Cozy Cardi. Do y'all remember that from last year? I think it might be the same stitch pattern, but anyway, it has the appearance of a waffle stitch. However, the raglan increases is this really cool cable. And I showed my husband a picture of it up close. He was like, yeah, that looks a little fancy for me. It cracked me up. Anyway, so no, that was a no-go, but I might make that someday for myself. The men's version, I think it's called the Gibb 2, because it's like, you know me, I don't like a tight girly silhouette. I like oversized kind of masculine silhouettes. So I could totally see myself wearing that, but we're not talking about me. We're talking about my husband. So the Handstolm, check, got the pattern. I've always wanted to use Sandnes Garn, the yarn company. I've just always seen them, and it's just, they have such a cool range of colors. And, you know, my favorite online place to buy yarn is Wool & Co., based out of Illinois. And I lost my train of thought. Sorry, I got distracted at what time is it, because I'm dragging myself today on and on. Back to Sandnes Garn. I wanted to use them. However, having never used them, I was concerned that I was going to end up picking something that would be too itchy. However, I also wanted to use a non-superwash yarn because I fear in a garment as large as a men's sweater, like full sleeve sweater. He's really tall, he's 6'3", and, you know, broad shoulders or whatever. And so it's a big garment. I was concerned if I used superwash yarn, it would, number one, stretch a lot, and then again, feel too loose. And I'm really trying to move away from superwash yarn into a more non-superwash territory. So while I was tossing all this around in my mind, Lisa of Bubble Girl Knits had posted on Instagram, I think it was the woolly waffle sweater that she had test knit for Stephen West, and she had used Sandnes Garn in some DK weight. I don't remember the name. So I messaged her and asked her if she thought it was super soft, and she said she thought the Double Sunday line was softer. So I trust her because she knits so incredibly prolifically and beautifully that I was like, sold. That's all the testimony I needed. So on Will & Co, they had all the beautiful double Sunday colorways, so many rich, beautiful colors. And again, he's super, you know, plain on the color palette. Like he always wears lots of navy and gray and black. And none of those are like colors I love to knit with. So I showed him this colorway called Into the Woods, which is a petite knit special collaboration colorway with Sandnesgarn, and he approved that. And I thought that was a colorway that I could live with, not only live with, but really enjoy, because it's a really simple stockinette sweater. I need it to be a color I enjoy to keep me in it, you know what I mean? And this color, I am really into rich greens and olives and earthy colors right now. I don't know why, because, you know, if you've been watching my pod, you know I love hot pink and all the neons, but lately I've just been really into earthy colors. I don't know why, but I am. But anyway, it's all good because that works for his likes and my likes, and there you go. I ordered the yarn. It's going to be here on Monday. I can't wait to show it to you. If you have knit that sweater, please let me know. I'm trying to think if I've ever knit anything from Petite Knit other than the Sophie scarf. And I believe the answer is no. However, I know she is a fantastic pattern writer just by the sheer, you know, popularity. I think the people that rise to the top have some basic things in common, and one of those is probably that they're good pattern writers, and I have confidence that I can figure it out. But I'd be still curious if you've knit that sweater. And so what I did was I measured him and I measured his favorite shirt, which is this waffle shirt I'm telling you about. And it only had like 2.5 inches of positive ease. So he measured 41 inches around the chest, and that sweater was like 42.5. Petite Knit says, the pattern says to knit it with, I think, 6 inches of positive ease or something, but that's not what he wanted. So I'm actually going to knit, I think it was 41 or 43, and I decided to go with 43. And I figure in the winter, he always wears a t-shirt or something under his sweaters anyway. So that gives him a little more breathing room, and non-superwash isn't gonna stretch a lot. So I'm trying to just belts and suspenders the sizing issue, because I just don't want to run into a situation where I've put in all this effort and then the sizing isn't working out. And that's another reason a top-down sweater in this situation is just a non-negotiable, because I need him to be able to try it on as we go so that we can problem shoot as we go. So when I get that yarn, that is going to be priority 1 onto the needles, because like I said, the cable sweater is like a long-term project. I don't want to blow out my hands working on that. The half and half triangles wrap is also a long-term project. So this one will be kind of like go to the top of the line, because he is 100% so knit-worthy and so long overdue to receive a beautiful knit that I want to have this completed before the end of the year for him, for sure. I want him to be able to take it to the mountains and enjoy it and feel the love in the form of yarn. Because what more is there? Okay, that's that. That is what is coming down the pipeline. And here we are again, 45 minutes. I didn't ramble too far. Last week I did, or last Monday I did like a nice, concise, only knitwear video. So today I feel like all the parts of me that are just rambly have been pushed down, and now they're just like trying to get out. And so I'm extra rambly today. So anyway, that is all the knitting content I will share with you today. As usual, that's not all the knitting content in my mind. It is a seemingly unlimited well of knitting words in my brain, but we got things to do, places to be, so we'll revisit about the other things. But now let's talk about other things. I really wanted to talk about the book I just finished. So if you are not interested in life stuff, totally get it. I will see you next time. If you made it this far, thank you for watching. I really am grateful for you. And please subscribe so that you don't miss any more videos. If you're ready for non-knitting stuff, let's do it. So what book did I just finish? I just finished The Covenant of Water by Abraham Verghese, which was Oprah's book club, her 101st book club pick. That is how I got it on my radar. It's so funny that there was this initial reluctance that I had that was multifaceted, and I don't quite understand it, but it's a really long book, and I guess I had this feeling that this journey of this book would require a lot of me, and I wasn't quite sure if I was up for it. But I decided I was. I think I decided I was after I finished Hello Beautiful for the second time. In what, like, I think I read it in like February or March, Hello Beautiful. And then I read it again, loved every second of it. And I just had that craving for something large, like something big in scope and enveloping and epic. And I felt like Covenant of Water was going to be that. And so now at the end, having finished it, I can tell you just, I mean, did it live up to my hopes? It blew my hopes out of the water. Like, rarely do books just feel like they transform you. This was one of those books. It wasn't even, I feel expanded. I feel like I lived many lifetimes in this book. Like the experience is so rich and vivid, and it literally leaps off the page, and you feel like you have lived the lives of each of these characters, and you are expanded because of it. I could not recommend it enough, but I don't think it's just an autopilot read. I don't think you can just embark upon it and like, it is like a co-creation of sorts. Does that make sense? Like, you have to bring yourself to it. You have to have an openness of mind and spirit, and it's just so worth it if you're ready for it. And if you're not in the mood for it, save it. Put it in the back of your mind for a time in your life that you are going to be open to it. But if you are, I just think it's larger than life. I am in utter and total awe of the author, Abraham Verghese. He is Dr. Abraham Verghese. He is an infectious disease specialist. He's a professor at Stanford. He's written numerous books. He's just awe-inspiring. I do not know how people like that exist with the same 24 hours a day that every one of us is given in this lifetime. It is truly, truly awe-inspiring. That's the only phrase I can think of. And I was really in withdrawal when this book ended. I listened to it, as I do most books, on audiobook, and I think normally I wouldn't have an opinion this way or that, but in this case, I really, really recommend the audiobook. The richness of it, I would say, in no small part came from the fact that it was being read by the author. There is so much dialogue and foreign words that would be really difficult to parse through, and you wouldn't get as much out of it if you weren't being read to. I just think, I don't know. I think it's a really valuable audiobook. However, that being said, I would love to just get the hardback or hardcover, because I would love to just flip it open and read a chapter here and there, because I'm not kidding y'all. I miss the characters. Like, they're just so deep inside you that when it ended, I mourned the end of it. I felt so sad. And I think the only thing that softened that blow of the ending was the fact that Oprah did a 6-part podcast series with the author and did it like in different parts, like from the beginning to the end, and discussed it with him and had viewer questions. And it just, I started that like the second I finished the book, just because I wasn't ready to be cast out of the world of the book, and binged that in 2 days, 3 days. And then like really the sadness set in of losing this story, because it's definitely not the kind of book I would be able to turn around and read again straight away, because it's just such a journey. It's literally like being transported to this other world. And I don't know, if you're a reader, if you love to read, this book captures why people love to read, because it expands your heart. It expands your mind. Like, I feel teary. It was so good. One of the main characters, the point of view begins with this character who's, in the book, her name is Big Amachi, and they don't even tell you her name until far, far, far into the book. But this mother figure, you know, we join her life when she's 12, and she just, in my life, I think she will be up there as this, I can't think of any word other than archetype of motherhood that I aspire to, which is love, like the purest, most non-judgmental love. She just embodies that, and we get to be with her through her whole life, through all her trials and tribulations. And it's, I don't know how to explain my feelings. All I know is I hope you find yourself in the position to read it at some point. And if you do, please, please reach out to me if you have any desire. Tell me what you thought. Tell me how you felt. I seriously think, like, this is one of those books that you could form an entire retreat around. Like, in my wildest dream, it would be like a knitting and book retreat where everybody read a book like this and then went on a yarn retreat and just stayed in a cabin in the woods and hiked and knit and talked about the book we all read and drank wine and coffee and just lived our best life. That's my dream. But anyway, so the only way we recreate that in reality right now is just by sending each other messages. So if you read it or if you are in the midst of it, please do reach out. My one thing I will leave you with is, don't listen to the Oprah podcast while you are reading the book, because there are definitely spoilers along the way, or even like foreshadowing that I would not have wanted at all. So if you are reading it, hold off on the Oprah's podcast. So yeah, it is definitely like not just your quintessential reading experience. You have to bring yourself to it, but the work of participating in the reading of the novel will change you for the better, and it will open your heart. It made me feel like, how to put this? Sometimes I think we can feel like, almost like we as humans are beyond certain problems in the world. Like leprosy is a really big presence in this book. And I think if you asked anybody you know, does leprosy ever cross your mind? Is that a concept you think about? Do you ever think about having compassion for lepers? People would think you're insane. And rightly so, thank God. It's probably not something that's that top of mind for people, but I don't even know what I'm trying to say, but it's like this book just makes you realize our humanity encompasses all of these things. Even the things that we think don't apply to us completely apply to us. It's the same problems we all have, just in a different shape or disguise. And like your humanity is expanded when you're able to experience these things through other people's writing, fiction. Do you know what I mean? I don't know. I don't think I'm able to clearly explain how I feel, but I tried. I hope it convinces you to give it a shot if you have been tempted. I know I had listened to the sample many times and was like, but it's like an 800-page book. It's going to take more than the 5-minute sample or the 10 pages that you can read at a bookstore or on your Kindle to really be transported into that world. But if you bring yourself to it, I promise you it's worth it. Okay, I'm going to force myself to stop talking about it because I definitely could just go on and on. For those of you who enjoy a nice rambly podcast, you are welcome. Okay, so enough of that. What else? Last week, I got a big burden off my chest in the form of talking to you about my climate anxiety, and it made me giggle at myself after I got all your comments, that it would have been the equivalent, my concern, that all of you would just be like, oh, I can't deal with her, unsubscribe. That sentiment would be like me going to lunch with a friend and wanting to tell that friend something that's been bothering me and being concerned that that friend would be like, you know what, if you're not just always super fun and upbeat, then I don't want to be your friend anymore. Because I really do feel like we are connected and there's this true connection that we have. And to come to you with something that has been upsetting me and wondering if we can find ways to make it better is like thinking you would all leave is sort of underestimating our relationship. So I appreciate all of your messages more than you know. It gave me more hope than ever that there is reason to have hope when it comes to climate change, because so many of you are so filled with the exact same sentiments, the exact same desire to do better, the exact same worries. And I think sometimes we think our obstacle lies in convincing people who don't have that same feelings to have the same feelings. But actually, I don't think that's where our obstacle lies. Our obstacle lies in getting everyone who does feel this way to live their most passionate, activist self. And I don't mean that means you go out and run for office. It means every day you live in alignment with what you say hurts your heart. So if you say climate hurts your heart, then are you doing everything every day to live that belief? And when we all are the people that already believe these things, we will make it better, okay? 100% we have done harder things in this world. And this is probably like, I think, one of the greatest challenges to humanity, but I have no doubt after reading all your messages that it is doable. So have faith and let's make small changes that accumulate into big changes together. I loved how receptive you guys were to how valuable water is. So many of you had such wonderful thoughts, like simple things, y'all. These are this is low-hanging fruit. Not letting the water run while you brush your teeth. That's in the same boat as what we were talking about last week. Taking shorter showers, just being more mindful, right? Being more mindful, that is all. This week, I wanted to give you a little tip that I really do this, and it makes me feel a lot better about the fact that I use a washer and dryer, okay? I don't feel guilty about using a washer to wash our clothes because I do think it actually takes less water. Just like we were talking about dishwashers, I think it would take more water to wash your clothes like by hand than it would in a washing machine. So making sure you're throwing loads that are the right size, so not too full and not too small. Like don't throw a load of laundry that's tiny. Make sure you're maximizing your laundry, like accumulate your household's laundry and throw a load of laundry. But the real tip that I had for you this week is to batch your laundry. Like say you have a job in the world, you're working all week, you're busy, try to do all your laundry on one day. Like even if it's Saturday or Sunday, do most of your laundry together. Or even if you can't do it all in one day a week, do multiple loads, because when you're running your dryer and it heats up to dry your clothes, and then immediately you take those clothes out and throw another load of wet clothes into the dryer, you're using so much less electricity. Because guess what? It is so obvious. The dryer is already hot. Okay, so it'll dry so much quicker. You're using less electricity, and it's better for the environment and it's better for your pocketbook. Like most of the time, the things that are good for the climate and the world are more healthy for us and better for us financially. So it's sort of like a win-win-win, and psychologically, because I think we are very affected by clutter. And I think the way we are living in this world, it's like creating a lot of clutter, both physically and mentally. So when we try to streamline things, nobody loses. It's just a win all the way around. So this week's tip is to batch your laundry. Use the heat of the dryer that's already there to dry things faster and more efficiently. I also really do line dry a lot of things. I have a drying rack, and I would say 50% of our clothes go onto the drying rack and 50% of them go into the dryer. Again, win-win, because it's eco-friendly and your clothes are being treated more gently and will last longer, and that's always a win. So that is the easy, low-hanging fruit of the week. Somebody reminded me, and I thought this was such a fantastic tip. Y'all give me your best tips, and I will, with joy in my heart, share them with everybody else. One of the things I heard multiple times in comments was using, bringing your own bags to the grocery store. Like, I just feel like this is, by this time, so self-evident. And I am guilty sometimes of just forgetting to put the bags back into my trunk. But again, we are just moving towards better. We are not striving for perfect in any way, shape, or form. We're just striving for a little bit better every day. So when we get used to putting the bags back in our car, we're gonna get better at it, and we're gonna use less plastic bags. Here in Boulder, where I live, in Colorado, they made plastic bags literally illegal. And if you want a paper bag from a store, they're gonna charge you for it, which I think is just such great motivation. Sometimes we're just only make that realization when people are going to charge us a dime for that paper bag, which is kind of funny if you think about it, but whatever it takes, man, I'm thrilled about that change. So maybe there's two tips for this week: batching your laundry and making sure you take your own bags to the grocery store. And it doesn't have to be fancy bags you bought. I have 1,000 paper bags from the grocery store, and I always have those along with other, fabric bags. So there's no perfect way here. It doesn't have to be cute. It just has to be, okay? Life tip right there. Okay, I'm tired. I have spoken for over an hour now, and now it's really raining outside, and I just want to sit, have a cup of coffee, and knit some before I have to go get my kids. So I'm gonna go do that. I hope you've been enjoying some knitting alongside while you listened, and I hope you have a fabulous weekend wherever you are. Take care of yourself. Be kind to yourself, please, okay? And I will see you next week.